We work very closely with our clients, like Mack, and for your listeners, we essentially create a story around the product. So we'll work with technical teams, we'll work with a design team, which has done a wonderful job of designing the product in the first place. And our job is to really start with the heart of what the product is about.
Welcome to Beyond the Bulldog, presented by Mack Trucks. I'm your host, Brian Wright. What you can expect from Beyond the Bulldog is to learn, enjoy, and participate from the comfort of your seat, whether on the road or off. You'll engage in topics and stories from people that work in the trucking industry, including some who work for Mack Trucks. This is mile marker number 10. Our guest is Bes Bujupi, who is the Executive Creative Director for Rapid Images. Rapid Images is a digital product experience company that is a marketing partner with Mack Trucks. In this conversation, you'll learn about digital marketing and its applications, tips to help you tell your story through art and images, and how to promote your business utilizing today's technology and media.
You're listening to Beyond the Bulldog, presented by Mack Trucks.
Welcome to Beyond the Bulldog podcast. We're here with Bes Bujupi with Rapid Images. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you. So Beyond the Bulldog is a podcast that connects with truckers, trucking industry, and fans of Mack. And this particular episode is with you. You're a vendor of Mack's with Rapid Images. Why don't you share what you do and what Rapid Images does?
Sure. So my name is Bes Bujupi. I'm the Executive Creative Director at Rapid Images. We are based in Sweden. We are a company of about 100 people. We work with various industries, automotive, heavy duty, with you guys, of course. And in our company, what we do is we are a product experience company. So we mainly work with digital assets like 3D, web, social media, and so on. So our job is to basically help facilitate the product online, in digital screens, in billboards. So we help with that, basically.
So product experience.
Indeed.
Let's define what that is.
Well, product experience can be many things. We all have cars and products that we have at home, phones, TVs. Our job is to basically explain the benefits of that product to the customer. So essentially, our job is to first of all understand the product deeply and help explain to the customer how they can use that product and how it improves their life as well. And their work environment, of course. So in this case, for Mack, it's, showing truckers, companies, businesses, how to basically bring the Mack product into their business.
All right. Well, let's go one step further.
Sure.
Is it text? Is it images? Is it both?
The clues in the name.
I kind of set that one up for you.
Right, exactly. It could be everything.
Sure.
All of the above. But predominantly it's images, it's visual media. It could be stills, it could be interactive, web, it could be film and CGI. So yeah, it's basically more of a visual side of media.
Yeah. Well, how do you create a story with a picture, image, video, where and maybe there's sound and some narration in the background too,
sure,
right?
Sure.
So maybe that kind of answers my question. But, how do you create that? Because when you're talking about storytelling, you want to get the story right based on the brand, based on the product.
Everything starts with a brief. And we work very closely with our clients, like Mack. And, for your listeners, we essentially create a story around the product. So we'll work with technical teams. We'll work with a design team, which has done a wonderful job of designing the product in the first place. And our job is to really start with the heart of what the product is about. And, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So sometimes, it could be that we create billboard style stills, which are seen in marketing everywhere across the United States and the world. And sometimes it could be, small, engaging sort of campaigns that are slotted into YouTube, or digital media. It could be different platforms and so on. So the story is super important, of course. We try and tell an honest story of the product. We try and tell a authentic style of storytelling in terms of it doesn't matter what the media is. People have a tendency of understanding what they're being served, and the more authentic it is, the better it comes across. So
right.
We don't try to embellish it too much. I mean, it's all about authenticity and bringing the brand forward. In this case, Mack. I mean, it's half of the job is done for us because the brand is so strong.
All right. Well, let's tackle that one. What's your interpretation of the Mack brand?
So, I mean, growing up in Europe and in England, first of all, and I was born in Kosovo, moved to England as a child, grew up in England. We have very different trucks. First of all, we drive on the other side of the road, so that's a different story.
Yeah, here they say it's the wrong side, just letting you know.
But I mean, you're always sort of fascinated by, the American trucks because they look different. They have a proper nose. They have the engine in front rather than you don't sit on top of the engine. And also, Mack has been in so many movies. So, I mean, I was watching Cars the other day with my daughter and my son, and I was explaining to them, and they're 4 and 2. So the 4-year-old is obviously very interested in the film. So I was explaining that we work with Mack, and Mack is obviously a big part of that movie. So for us, it comes through from the movies, and it comes through from the culture. And also, I think, we tend to understand Mack as the brand that built America in many ways, because it's so visible in that sense. It's quintessential American brand, and that's how we see it. So that's how I see it too. That's my lens.
Yeah. Well, there's no wrong answer with that one.
Right.
And it's an honor from my seat, to be able to have the Bulldog and Mack,
Of course.
because of all the weight that carries. It's pretty exciting, and of course, it translates to other things too.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot to mention the Bulldog, of course.
Yeah,
that is. I mean, I sort of understand where it comes from, and it does make the brand a lot more, graspable for people who may not necessarily see, Mack or trucking brands every day. I mean, a Bulldog is, you're always going to stop and look, So for me, it's quite important that we obviously use this asset that we have.
Yeah. Well, it came from England.
So, exactly.
Yeah.
So
the British troops in World War I, like the trucks,
indeed,
the looks of it kind of had this underbite as well, the AC models, and they said, bring in the Bulldogs.
And I mean, it looks great, and it's nice to see that it's sort of modern, and it's also evolved with time, which is really important for branding. Of course, that's the sort of the business that I'm in. Is you always change, so you always have to keep innovating and changing in the right direction. And of course, you hold on dearly where you're from, but you always have a sense of change that is in front of you. So I think that this is the sort of the sense of brand for me, at least.
Interesting. So have you been involved with a company that's been over a long span? As they have evolved, the way you portray that image and video evolves too, right?
Indeed. I mean, I think I've been working in this industry for at least 18 to 20 years when I first started, but as a teenager in my bedroom, I guess. And the media has changed. I mean, I guess 20 years ago, I mean, there was no YouTube, and as some of probably your listeners would sort of understand this, it's changed dramatically. So in terms of brand, I think, of course, working with various brands, I've worked with Volvo Cars, Polestar, Formula One, all of the Nike, for instance. I mean, that's a legendary brand as well.
Yeah.
There's a few brands, of course, that sort of have to keep the change more constant. Like Nike changes a lot. Of course, they have to adapt to new markets and new needs. And they're a bit more faster changing because they need to. It's fashion, it's it's sports, and it's providing sports equipment for athletes. But for me, I think when it comes to brands like Mack, of course, the video has changed dramatically because now you can have various forms of video. So now we've gone from this sort of wide, super wide screen to the mobile screen, which is, of course, vertical. So, even showing the product takes a lot of consideration in how you do that because, mobile screens, most people are using them in the portrait mode. So, it sort of destroys the cinematographer's view of like what should be. But it also challenges and changes the whole script a little bit.
The things you don't think about.
Exactly.
I work with another organization as well, and they would send out all these surveys.
Right.
And for a long time, out of a scale of 1 to 10, we'd be getting 6s. Now, 6 is better than a 3 or a 2, but it's like,
Indeed. Why
why aren't these 10s? It's because people were receiving the surveys on their cell phone. And when they're looking at it in portrait mode, it goes 1 to 6. And if they flipped it, it'd go 1 to 10.
Of course.
So it's things that you know about that you don't think about just with
Exactly.
the changing of a screen from TV to computer to cell phone. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone from, static TV, and we call it static and then it became somewhat more dynamic. And then it became on demand as we watch, Netflix and YouTube and Roku and you name it, Amazon. And then now we're in this sort of transition of social media where, short form and medium form can be viewed on mobile still. But a big part of me still holds on to the true format, which is the cinematic format and so on. But we do evolve and, just like the rest, we have to serve our people where they are and they're in their mobile phones. So
let's talk about your journey. So you had some time in England and
Indeed.
then Sweden,
right.
doing the same type of work?
Yeah, so like any kid who's into technology and art, I grew up in a family with my dad is an architect, so we always had art around, and he was always drawing and painting, and you sort of pick that up a little bit, and then you sort of evolve into in what you want to do. And of course, for me, I like to build things as a child, and then I started to get into computers and technology and start to build websites and design various things, graphic design, multimedia, so you name it, animation. So that interest sort of grew and grew from school, and then I was in England, I was in Manchester, and then moved to London, worked for some big companies down there, and then moved to Sweden with the company to start working with the Swedish brands like Volvo Cars, Trucks, and so on. So that's sort of a quick overview of my journey, but how it's changed across time, it's, I don't think I recognize my job from when I started to what I do today, which is interesting.
So now your work involves CGI, computer-generated imaging. So explain what that really is and where it is that we look at.
Sure. CGI, of course, everyone loves Pixar and animated movies. And, if I could explain it in simple terms, I guess computer-generated images is things that you make in the computer. You generate images essentially with pixels and 3D. It could be 2D as well, but in terms of what we do, it's quite simple. Today, when you are driving around town or you're going state to state and you're seeing all these billboards of new cars and new products, I would say that the good guess today is that more than half of those billboards and ads that you see are CGI images. But not only that, it's so good these days that you can't tell the difference between what the real world is, photography, and what CGI is. And I think we've blurred that line now. And if I can explain it in sort of more simple terms, what we do is we basically create a digital twin of a product that exists in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And there's benefits to that because you can't always take the truck and shoot it in, Alaska or, it's prohibitively expensive. You have to transport the truck, transport the crew. Of course, you do that for special, campaigns and launches. Of course, we do that. You cannot replace real world. I mean, it's the best.
Mm-hmm.
So what we tend to do is we use a hybrid approach where we shoot the back plates. What we call a back plate is essentially a guide image where we shoot a location, and then we will replace the truck, or we will put in a truck that the Mack needs, or we'll say, okay, we need this configuration, we need it in this color, we need it with a box in the back, or with a short trailer or long trailer or double trailer or whatever. It's so much easier to do that in CGI,
right?
And that's why we have that flexibility. Of course, when we are not so flexible in going out and shooting with a really long trailer and stopping traffic in the middle of LA or,
at the right
cities.
window of weather.
Exactly. So, I mean, we can enhance what the real world looks like, but we tend to favor the approach of shooting in real world, at least the backplate, the background, and then we have a digital product on top, which serves to multi-purposes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to state that no matter what the technology is and was in the 70s and now, one thing that is consistent is a good story will always come through. And I think that hasn't gone away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think storytelling is key to any production that you do, really, because it has to come through. And you can use CGI, you can use photography, you can use, videography and cinematography. It still has to come through as the heart of the story.
Yeah. This year, Mack Trucks celebrates its 125th anniversary and the release of our new flagship truck, Mack Pioneer. To commemorate these historic milestones, Mack Shop has released limited edition apparel and accessories. From shirts and hats to coffee mugs and bags, Mack Shop has lots of ways for you to show off your love of this iconic American brand. And right now, podcast listeners can save 20% off selected items just by using the code MACPODCAST. One word, no spaces. Just go to MackShop.com for all the latest Mack styles and make sure to use the code MACPODCAST to get 20% off. We are here with Bes. He is the Executive Creative Director at Rapid Images, and we're talking about storytelling as it relates to images, be it billboards, websites, promotional material. Let's continue on that theme. What's the story behind your work with Mack? What's that story sound like?
The journey began 3 years ago. I worked for a company called Rapid Images. We create images, of course,
Sure.
and other things, with technology and art, essentially combined together. My job was to help Mack to create a digital truck builder that can help businesses to configure trucks, to personalize them, and to make them their own. So initially that was the task, and then of course we help with creating new campaigns. We're working with a lot of partners, as you can imagine, with Mack being a big organization, has a lot of really talented people on board. We have, the creative agencies who help drive the story and the strategy. And then on the production side, we have a lot of people behind that kind of create the brand that you see today, be it on the web, on social media, which is super important, out of home, in the billboards and so on. So in terms of storytelling, I think my story personally is an interesting one with Mack, because I began by sort of really understanding the trucking world. I come from the automotive world to begin with, because I've had a lot of experience in branding and working with the automotive companies like Lexus and Toyota and in Europe, and also, on the other extreme, Formula One, which is one of the pinnacle of motorsport. And then, of course, working with with those brands has given me a lot of insights in how you could, take the benefits of the product and communicate them best to the customer. So actually moving into the more of the trucking side, or let's say the heavy duty side, has been super interesting. When we think about logistics, or it's not just logistics, but trucks do so much for us. I mean, they deliver food to our supermarkets. They help build the hospitals and roads that we use every day. They take away our garbage every week.
Right.
And they do so much from, bringing in freight and moving. It's basically the lifeline of society. I mean, they move cities, and they've changed our world essentially. So for me, it's been a really interesting way to sort of tap into that story and see how you can bring that into everything you do. For example, if you look at the pioneer images that we did, there's this beautiful shot in Malibu of you have a mountainside on one side, and Point Magoo, it's called, the space where we shot. And we had this amazing shoot where you could see the truck sort of piercing through the mountain. I mean, it's connecting sea, land, rail, and society. I mean, that's kind of what we're trying to portray all the time. And it's a long-haul product, of course. So for your listeners out there, I mean, I think they will resonate with it, hopefully, and they will see that that's their view every day. They probably have some of the most incredible views that we can ever imagine. These guys are kind of seeing it every day. So for me to sort of try and tap into that, it takes a lot of research and going to that space where they might experience that environment.
That's interesting how you kind of broke that apart. When I started working with Mack a little over a year ago, knew the brand, like you, I was involved in cars, and the trucking world and industry was new, yet exciting. You see them every day on the interstate. Once I started doing work with Mack, all of a sudden I started seeing the different brands of trucks. And every time I saw a Mack, I got excited, right? And it's just this heightened awareness.
Indeed.
So as people are listening and perhaps watching what we're talking about, they're going to be looking at things differently. What is a photo? What is computer generated? And I guess to speak about one of our people here is, the best definition of art is one that people see and you don't have to defend it.
Exactly.
Right? Is that a computer or is that a real picture? Well,
that's irrelevant.
A, does it really matter?
Exactly.
And B, does it tell that story?
Sure.
So thinking about how you interpreted the shot of the Mack, mountain, sea, in between. Well, now as I'm driving on an interstate and I see a truck, it's like, well, that's the backbone of America.
Sure. Exactly.
That could be groceries or things you purchase online.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key, really, is to make some art that kind of resonates with people. I mean, you don't have to be an artist to understand art. I mean, we see it every day. I think what tends to happen in business sometimes is that in different campaigns is, you create these campaigns for people who are everyday people. They have a car, they buy iPhones, they understand technology. I mean, the truck is a computer now anyway. So I think for me, it's just really nice to see that we can combine all of these ideas and create something that resonates with people's reality every day. And I think that's what you're trying to tap into if they see. And also you need to create something that is different from the competition as well. I mean, it's really important. At the end of the day, we want the brand to be stronger and more recognizable. So, of course, we have, the mascot, and we have a lot of elements that we can sort of in our tool shed that we can pull out and use to create some different emotions. So it doesn't really matter what the tool is. I mean, we have AI today as well. I mean, artificial intelligence, and that can do wonders for some things. And of course, it will never replace the art that people create. You need to feed it the right things for it to make something. But at the end of the day, if you're creating stuff that people resonate to and can sort of see that and say, wow, that's a cool truck.
Yeah.
Or if your job is to get them to imagine themselves in that truck. If you can do that, then I think half of the job is done, because once they sit in it, it's a different story.
Right.
Then you guys take over, and of course,
Yeah, right.
that becomes more of the product experience is then real. But until they meet the truck, our job is to create that link between the digital screen that they're looking at every day and the real product.
This Week in History.
What U.S. patent helps reduce the risk of automobile fatalities and serious injuries by as much as 50%? The answer? The U.S. patent for the 3-point automobile safety belt. This patent was issued to Swedish engineer Nils Bohlin with Volvo Car Corporation on July 10, 1962. Prior, safety belt use was limited, mostly to race car drivers with a traditional 2-point belt over the abdomen. In the event of a high-speed crash, these 2-point belts were known to cause severe internal injuries. In 1959, Volvo introduced Bohlin's 3-point safety belts in their cars, and later that year filed for the U.S. patent. Bohlin explained, "The object is to provide a safety belt which retains the upper and lower part of the body and is easy to fasten and unfasten." In the interest of safety, Volvo made the new seatbelt design available to other car manufacturers for free, and it was quickly adopted. In America, all new vehicles from 1968 had to be made with these 3-point seatbelts. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, seatbelt use saves more than 11,000 lives per year in America alone.
This has been This Week in History.
We are speaking with Bes. He is the Executive Creative Director with Rapid Images. Continuing on the theme of art, what kind of art inspired you? What connected with you?
I love animation. I mean, we've all grown up watching animation. It could be from Mickey Mouse all the way to Pixar, you know. I love architecture too. I mean, that sort of resonates with me, and design. And growing up in England, of course, you have this sort of classical sense of, you know, the Georgian styles of architecture, and the cities are pretty, you know, old, and, you know, they tell a story. And then you have the new side of things in places like London, where you can experience the future. And of course, moving to Sweden has been completely interesting in my life, in my work, because Swedish and Scandinavian design is everywhere. I mean, you know, from IKEA to Spotify, and there's so many furniture brands and classic design brands that come from that part of the world. You start to kind of see that functionality matters a lot more sometimes, and you need to sort of use these things sparingly between style and function to create something that people can use and see every day. So, and you have to create value for whatever you're doing. You know, it's our job to create value. It's Mack's job to create value for the business that buys the truck and uses the truck every day as a tool. So it's also my job to create value in terms of how I think about the, you know, function versus style and trends and so on. So
let's shift it a little bit. Let's think about the trucking industry, whether it's over the road, construction. A lot of times, you know, it's a word of mouth industry. It's all about integrity. I tell you I'm going to be there at a certain time with a certain product, and I'm going to deliver, right? Not a lot in the industry have, you know, the understanding of perhaps marketing, art, how to position their business so that they can generate more business. What would you say, or what would you think of as tips for the truckers, the trucking companies out there? You know, if they want to get the message out of, hey, I do this, what's a great baseline? What's a good foundation for them?
So social media today is everything, of course. It's a big part of how you generate business. I mean, it goes into e-commerce and so on. But if you take some simple sort of break it down to simple terms in terms of how marketing works, you usually have to communicate the benefit of the product. And it could be in a company that deals with logistics, that their unique selling point is that we always deliver on time, then you have to sort of demonstrate that somehow. It could be through film, could be through social media, it could be through, of course, word of mouth is king, because I mean, people trust that. But of course, how do you get through to someone who doesn't know that? The best thing you can do is talk about your services. Find an opportunity to talk to friends, to talk to strangers even. Sometimes you never know who you're sitting next to on the plane, you know. Or, for me, I think it's even reaching out to brands like Mack. I think it's interesting, because then they have a platform that they can sort of host your story. They can amplify your story as well. So being a little bit more active on the social media side, when you're taking a break, rather than maybe watching 2 or 3 episodes of a series, maybe take time to maybe communicate with, some brands, start to see opportunities, maybe see on LinkedIn, if you're in professional network, who you can reach into different business that you want to get into. If it's Amazon or, Walmart, you can find people there. So using the internet to your own advantage is sort of what I would say is the basics. And then, of course, it's hard to do things that go viral, and,
Sure.
Those things become great when people accept them. As long as you're authentic and you're yourself, and you make content. And I would say I'm pretty bad at this myself, because I should be more on social media, with my story and my face talking. But, we all have different things to do during the day. But I think that is the authenticity that you can create in social media is what people believe who you really are.
Yeah. And if you're going to say, I'm going to be there on time, you can't just say that. Because you have to work on the things that get you there.
Sure.
Right? When are you going to pick up the load? When are you going to leave? How far is it?
Exactly.
What are the, how many hours of service, breaks, things of that nature, and give yourself enough time for the unexpected too.
Exactly.
So it's the whole process of that. I think in marketing, you have to think about how you buy things, right?
I think it's also, it's sometimes overlooked, but marketing is about creating value, right? So as long as you're creating value for whatever business you're in, I think that comes through. Of course, the hardest part is to break through first, but then if your USP is to that I'll be there, always on time, then that will be the value that you create for that business. And they're going to trust that, and they're going to grow that business with you. So for me, I think it kind of breaks down to sort of basic terms. Stick to the values that you're really strong at, communicate them often, talk to the people who are buying that service, and don't be afraid to tell them that you're always on time, or whatever it is that the unique selling point is for you. So I think creating value is sort of the biggest aspect of marketing that you can kind of own, because you know best what you're best at. So,
and you can support that with imagery.
Absolutely.
Right?
Everyone is creator today. We all have phones.
It's unbelievable.
And I've seen some examples, some incredible examples of young drivers. There's a driver that I saw the other day, and he films himself playing music, as he's driving, and he's obviously singing along, and we all do it, but he's streaming this stuff. And for someone who's playing truck simulator and thinks that this is their industry they want to get into, that's a great ambassador right there. And he's growing, as well as, delivering goods, he's growing his fan base to, 20, 30,000 people who are following him every day, and brands are giving him things to show and paying him to post. And, there's other incomes you can generate with, today with the internet and streaming.
What do you think the next breakthrough is going to be? What's the next new step for that storytelling?
AI is everywhere today. So artificial intelligence is becoming more and more ingrained into our life. It's in our cars, it's in our phones, watches, dishwashers, you name it, you know. Things will just become more intelligent, the products that we use every day. I mean, storytelling wise, the innovation there, I think you have to have a good base story anyway. But I think what you can do today with technology is to sort of train your own organization and create your own model that kind of takes into account the brand, the tone of voice, how you speak to people, how you support people. So if someone has a question, for instance, I see that in the future that even the trucks will have the interface will be very different between the brand and the customer who's driving the truck. If they have a problem, they're probably going to be able to run diagnostics very quickly because the system knows itself where the problem is. And that could save a lot of time for someone who needs to be on the road again. So in terms of storytelling, I think we'll see a lot more as a tool to help accelerate the change, but also write more, be present in more languages at once, maybe live, as we're talking now.
Right.
I mean, that technology exists today. That could be, someone in Mexico listening to us right now, and we could be speaking Spanish. So I think this is the sort of the tools that are being developed today for tomorrow. And we are just sort of going into that phase of the internet now is moving into sort of artificial intelligence. So we don't waste too much, but we can use what we need resources wise and so on.
Yeah.
So,
I think if used properly, it's going to help.
Indeed.
It all starts with literally human contact. What do we believe in? What are we trying to deliver? Now, what tools and resources are available for us to utilize to help that message, to make the research side perhaps shorter? AI is quick.
I think I'm on the belief that if you, like a child, if you instill the right values, you can start to see the results from that. So I think, you have to teach it like a child as well.
Yeah.
You have to instill the right values, what's right, what's wrong, what should be appropriate, what's inappropriate, so all of that taken into account. It's not going to do everything, of course. That's no technology, no tech can do anything, everything at once. But I think if we use it in the right way, we can see some benefits from that.
Yeah, sure. And I know with the new Pioneer, the AI is a part of it. With the sensors that are available on the truck, you can almost predict when a service can happen. And if you think about being uptime, man, if you can predict that you're within a certain range of needing oil change, tires, brakes, whatever, and you're able to do that without missing a delivery, okay. That's a good
zero downtime.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. I mean, I think it really is here with us, this sort of intelligence side of things, because if you can do that, I mean, then think about how much more you can do with that time. That you're not breaking down, or you're not sort of coming close to the envelope or whatever. Yeah. So for me, as someone who works with technology every day, I think then it's my job to communicate that. So hopefully, I mean, that will be sort of the trend that we start to talk about more and show the benefits of servicing. And, when it comes to even, after you've owned the truck for a couple of years, you could jump back on the configurator and you can add some new components to the truck. Your business might change. You might need to change some of the applications on it. You can go in there. And today, what's interesting today is with the new Pioneer and, the new Anthem that we just launched yesterday, you can go to the truck builder today and you can pick any color you like, for instance.
Right.
So no other truck builder, or even automotive actually to that point, does it to that extent. So it goes to show how Mack is dedicated to the individual and to the authentic story of someone who, I mean, this is their office, this is their home. Yeah. They spend a lot of time in the truck, so it's very much an individual sort of product that you want to make yours and be comfortable with.
Yeah, an example of CGI, of course, right? So you've got all the different models that are available, and you can look at it from 5 or 6 different viewpoints, rotate it around, change the background, add a sleeper, make it a day cab, different wheelbase configurations, and to think about what that shot would look like if you're taking that by film every single time, it's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are crazy. We run a lot of simulation and calculations of how many images can be created with all the math behind it. And it's my chief technology officer was telling me the other day, it's you can't fit we couldn't pronounce the number. It was that big.
Yeah.
So we have to lean on technology to do that. So that's why we use CGI, and that's why it becomes integral part of the storytelling.
All right, so we're nearing the end. We've got some lightning round, quick fire questions. The pressure's on. You ready?
Okay.
All right. So what's the favorite piece you've ever worked on?
Favorite piece? We did a Volvo Cars launch for something called the Volvo Rider, which is basically a child sort of car that you can just sort of use your legs to paddle around the room. And we made it sound like it was an autonomous driving vehicle that you didn't need a license to own and operate. And then, of course, in the end, we showed the product. And we did close-ups in the beginning, so it kind of built it up as a real car. And then you saw the child car in the end. That was fantastic.
Nice.
That was fun.
What's one design principle you never compromise on?
For me, personally, design has to do many things, but clarity is one thing that is key because it's about communication. So you have, whatever it is, it could be text, it could be images, it could be shapes. You have to communicate clarity. And for me, that's more of a sort of a basic tool that I go back to make sure that I've done my job. So it has to be clear.
Last one, Mack Trucks in one word.
I mean, this isn't going to sound original, but right now, pioneer.
I like it. Do you have any advice for creatives that are getting into industrial or transportation design?
It's probably the coolest, sector to go into because I have the privilege of walking into the design studios, with Alan and the team. And some of the things that they do is incredible. Of course, they're designing the future in many ways. And if you're a young designer wanting to get into industrial design, beg your way into any design studio to go and experience what it's like to design products, because it's probably the best feeling you get so much energy from seeing so many talented people creating around you and making things. So as long as you're making things and you're sort of heading towards that sort of end goal, it could be industrial design, it could be digital design, it could be creative thinking, writing, music. The creative industry offers a lot of, benefits in that sense that you do something that is really fun every day.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. How can people find out about Rapid Images?
Yeah, so we are on social media, of course, in Instagram at Rapid Images. The website is rapidimages.se, as in Sweden. But of course, you can Google it as well. So
great. Well, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into Beyond the Bulldog with special guest Bes with Rapid Images. Let us know what you think about this week's podcast. We always want to know how to serve you better. We're also interested in what topics you'd like for us to cover and what guests you think would make for an entertaining podcast. Please leave your comments and suggestions in the comments section below.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure to follow the Bulldog.